Shalom and good day, this is Tehillim29 back again for some indie comic reviews, and in these indie comic reviews I'll be covering something in relation to the Archie comics, to which we've got a couple of one-shots here, and I wouldn't mind maybe even picking up the trade paperback in relation to some of these series. So for the first, or the ones that I'll be covering today for these indie comic reviews is Pickens, which has 3 stories in it, and Kardak the Mystic, which focuses around a character by the name of John Kardak, but spelled differently compared to how you see it. I'll now get things ready and organized as we start to review the first one. So starting off with first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening within the stories? In some essence it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the internal art, in relation to the 3 stories, to which I'll make sure to show art in relation to all 3 stories as we look around the beginning of the book, middle, and the end. Oh, and just to show the title of the stories that are in this, we have Bug Juice, we have The Curse of Camp Pickens, and also Down and Out and Death Curse. So the first story focuses on Jughead, along with some of the younger members of the Riverdale community who are also at Camp Pickens. Of course, we get their names: Dottie, Shrimpy, and of course Pipsqueak. Really clever. The next part focuses on Betty, until we catch up with Veronica. And whilst this story is happening, like one by one, I think they've done a really good job to sort of like make it appear as one story, even though there are 3 writers that do stories in this. And of course, last but not least, Jughead finally gets the bug juice. So for the internal art, I give a 7.5 out of 10. Now to move in relation to the area of the stories. First things first, did we get anything in relation time-wise, when it was taking place time-wise? No. The location, well, we already know where the location is because it's the title of the comic, which is Camp Pickens. The cast of characters that make an appearance in the story are Archie, Veronica, Jughead, Betty, Dilton, Dottie, Shrimpy, and Pipsqueak. Now it's time to move in relation to each story's rating. So for the first story, which was centered around Jughead, I gave a 7 out of 10, as I quite enjoyed how that story took place around mainly the beginning and the end of the comic. Next is story 2, which centers around Betty, but also moves into the Veronica one, to which I give a 6.5 out of 10. And story 3, which was done by Tim Seeley, I surprisingly, I enjoyed it, even though he can be sometimes very hit and miss sometimes with some of his stories, whether it's through Marvel or wherever else, or Marvel, DC, or wherever else, to which I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into Kardak the Mystic. So as we move into Kardak the Mystic, I think one thing I might do is I'll show the back of this comic, to which it will give a little bit more information in relation to the main character, which is known as John Carter. Not like the John Carter of Mars, but it's something different. And it's also spelt differently too. John Cardy, correction. So we get to learn a little bit about this character from the back here. But what mystery awaits for for Kardak the Mystic? So as the story begins, for the cover I give a 7.5. Now we move into the area of the internal arts. Sorry to speed things up a bit, but of course we get to see him pull off a couple of performances of illusions. And this story is done by Joe Corello, who has also appeared on, I think it's the I Love Comics channel, plus a couple of other channels. And I must admit, this is actually a quite enjoyable story. Of course, with this particular item that he picks up in Riverdale, it's sort of like a mystic stone. And he realizes that there's something, he soon realizes that there's something a little bit more to this particular stone that he picked up in Riverdale that was sort of like sold to him, until he encounters a bit of a demon of sorts. But is this the end for Kardak the Mystic? I wouldn't mind checking another issue, and I think Archie's would be smart to keep Joe Corello on full time. So for the internal art, I give a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story rating. First, consisting of the area of time, for which we have months from now being used, and also today. Next is the locations that we get to see within the story. We had New York, we had Riverdale, we had Ohio, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, both connected to their respected areas. And of course we had John, who is also Kardak the Mystic, and one more other character known as Lorna. For the overall rating, I give a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.